Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 95. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
Been a little while since me and Jay sat down because we had movie cocktail last week, so I hope everybody got out there and they made themselves a delicious Sam Neapolitan dessert cocktail that we came up with for that. And stay tuned and make sure that you check out the Epic Film Guys live stream for The Cure because we will have another movie cocktail on there. I'll be joining Nick to talk about a movie. I'm not going to say which because this is his thing, so he can announce what movie it's going to be and what the cocktail is and everything. But I did come up with it. Lauren checked it out tonight, and she said it was pretty delicious, so I trust her. She did say it was girly, but that's okay because I have there's a reason that it's a girly drink and it's pink. So
and the ingredients in there seemed like it would all fit together nicely.
It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It's not something I would drink a whole lot, but my wife said she could down a few of them and probably wind up puking in the gutter because it is heavy in alcohol. So Jay, man, it's been a while since we caught up. What have you been up to? Any dates? Any updates on the dating front, my friend? Because that's the only thing people really care about at this show anymore. I'm finding out no one gives a flying fuck about movies. No one cares about.
Am I the only single person in the podcast universe?
Yeah, more than likely.
It's just one of those things.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
I am currently still dating, Dave.
Okay. Multiple women, one woman. Why'd I say women?
put it this way: multiple dates. Not really more than one. Still talking. Some more than others. All went well enough. Nothing too bad. Some surprises.
Surprises?
Yeah, some surprises. But a couple on the horizon. So okay. We'll see.
So I'm going to give you an age range.
You know what the funny thing is, Dave? I got to say this though. As some of you guys might know, it's not hard for this to come out during a date saying that I have a podcast, and then they happen to listen in. So
you shouldn't, because having a podcast has never gotten anyone laid ever. Period.
Well, I'd like to think that it does.
It doesn't. It doesn't. I literally have a wife in the next room who probably touched my penis more before we started podcasting than she does now. So
that's a good point.
Yeah. It's literal. It's like bat shark repellent for women. Okay. It's like if you do a podcast, it's like off. You sprayed it on you, right. But like and they all just hover around you, but they don't see you. You're practically invisible because you're on
touch you. Yeah.
Right. Because you're on a podcast. They just they don't even see you. You're not even a human fucking being to them. Like you're a cannibalistic humanoid underdweller.
Keep doing what you're doing. Yeah. Good job. Yeah. Good for you.
Gonna make money doing that someday? Nope. Then why do you do it? Well, for you don't have to do any work into it, so it's pretty easy for you.
Our sponsor, Blowfish, pays us handsomely.
No, they only pay us for one spot, Jay. They don't pay us for multiple spots. So these women that you're dating or that you're going on dates with and stuff like that.
Yes.
Age range, 27 to 35, in that age range?
Probably, yes, around there.
Okay, good. Yeah. Good. So you're taking advice.
It's mid-20s up. Okay. To 35, that 10-year gap. Yeah.
So no one who has recently graduated college, no one who just celebrated their 21st birthday, no one who is, none of the younger ladies.
No younger ladies.
I would say anything under 25, definitely stay away from because you're an old man now.
Yes.
As I remind you every week, you're old.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Good. So, any you said some shocking things on dates. Anything that you can talk about in these shocking dates?
All right, I'll say this.
Yeah, no names. No,
this is complete. Nobody would ever know. It's completely anonymous. I later on during the date, I did find out that she was actually married.
Okay.
However, going through in the middle of a divorce, 2 years,
Well, again,
but still living together, Dave.
all right. So taking my advice, you're dating people who are a little bit older. And in that, because they're not man children like you, they've lived a little. They've had some life.
And this one has definitely lived a lot.
Right.
Yes.
So they've had some life. And transition like that isn't easy, obviously. So,
no, I get that.
So you really can't judge anybody based on their current situation, because you're not them and you don't know how they got to that.
And she's
situation.
literally in a massive transition in her life right now. So not just that, but also for other reasons. But
don't get upset if you wind up falling to the wayside, because when someone's in that type of transition,
I get it.
You might be what
to be
works.
honest, I'm not even sure if I want to be in the middle of that transition either.
Well,
I mean, she's a very good girl. She's great. I really enjoyed her time.
Right.
And we still talk and it's cool. But
sex yet? Yes. No.
No.
Okay. God, you're taking all my advice. I love it. I love it.
I'm growing up, Dave, little by little.
Yeah, no sex yet. No sex in the champagne room. No sex in is she a stripper?
But don't forget, Dave, I have not been having sex lately. So thank you very much. I would like to have some eventually. Sometime soon, hopefully.
And when you do, it'll mean something. Just make sure you milk the eel before you go out.
I probably will definitely have to do that. Yeah.
But
like
that's
once
good,
it goes, oh my God, I'm home again. Oh.
But that's good, man.
Oh, Jesus.
No, I'm not cutting it
Oh
out.
my God, please do.
I missed what you said, so I'm not going to cut it out because I have to listen back and hear it now. But no, it's good. I'm glad you're getting out there. I'm sorry that you're not laying pipe, but all good things come to those who wait.
It's all good. At least I'm being proactive.
Yeah.
Because I'm not being lazy about the whole dating situation like over the last year.
Absolutely. I am mildly proud of you. Like kindergarten graduation proud of you. like you really didn't accomplish anything. You're just moving from kindergarten to the first grade.
It's so true, because I really haven't even done anything. They're all like one dates. It's with multiple people. Right. And I have some others coming up. But it's still nothing. It doesn't actually mean anything.
No, it means nothing. It means nothing. So so I'm the dad with the camcorder, just watching you walk up. You stumble a little bit as you go up the stairs, and then the teacher goes to hand you the diploma, and like you just kind of like walk past them, and then stop and like look around and see like are my parents there? Are my parents there? And you walk away. You didn't even take your diploma. It's I am celebrating the most mediocrity that I can for you.
Actually, I'm happy about that.
Good, yeah. So mildly proud of you. For me, I didn't do jack shit, man. I honestly, I was so busy last week doing the movie Cocktail, editing all that together. Me and Rob, Fan Film Boys, I'm the co-host of that show over there. We were supposed to go to a convention on Sunday last week. That fell through, not because of me and Rob, but because the convention itself got canceled like a week before we were supposed to go. So I wound up like having nothing to fucking do. But it did turn into a nice thing, because what wound up happening was me and Lauren had a date night. We decided we were going to go out. We were going to have a date. And you actually joined us on Sunday for a little bit of a day date that we went on. But but me and Lauren went out on Saturday night. We went to the place where we got married. We went to Arini Italian restaurant where we got married and stuff like that. And it was nice. It was it's not like a lavish place, but it's a nice place.
It's a nice place. Very old fashioned, sort of, very comfortable.
Yeah, you don't have to wear a suit or anything like that. You don't have to get super dressed up, but you should wear a shirt with a collar. And if you're gonna wear jeans, no holes. And if you're gonna wear jeans, wear nice shoes with it. Don't wear sneakers. Blah blah blah. That type of place. So we get there and everything's great. Like everything's delicious. We have good appetizers and everything like that. This is just like when me and Lauren went to when we went to Myrtle Beach and we went to like that restaurant that we had no clue everything was going to be a la carte, and we wound up spending way too much money. That's kind of what happened at Arini. We got an appetizer that I looked at the appetizer price and I was like, it's not too bad. And we both got a meal, and then we both got market meals.
Oh, Jeez.
Yeah. Well, the one was a special, the guy said. He's like, it's our
That doesn't
special.
mean anything. No, see, that's
Exactly.
how they get you, because special
Right, you think special
just means it's rare.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's cheaper.
Right. It means in my mind I'm like special. That means that meat's going rotten. They're getting this shit out on a fucking
not in nice places. No.
They're getting this place out on the cheap. So she wound up getting some sort of steak dish, and yeah, it was market priced. I ended up getting they had another special for Dungeness crab. I love crab, right? So the way they describe it, it sounded like it was going to be like lump crab meat with like mixed vegetables and all this stuff, and it sounded really delicious. So they bring me out 2 whole Dungeness crabs on a plate, and we're in like this nice restaurant. And I don't know if you've ever like eaten crab like on the show and stuff like that. They didn't give me a claw cracker, number one, which is fine. I don't use a claw cracker anyway. You can take a crab apart without using a claw cracker if you know how to do it right. Yeah, and then you can use your fork to slide down on the legs and
but
stuff.
Still, sometimes it can get tricky.
Yeah, but a claw cracker can make a huge mess. You got to break
That's
it
true.
and it
That's
sprays
true.
everywhere. So either way, you're in a nice place. There's nice, legitimate, people around you, and you're sitting there. And I felt like the world's fattest, most disgusting slob sitting there, like breaking a crab apart and like pulling meat out of it, and like not using a fork because that would have taken for fucking ever. So I'm sitting there and like I just look like an animal dropping shells everywhere. I probably look like a fat otter laying on his back, just crushing crabs with a rock and eating them. Like it was delicious though.
That's good.
Everything was
That's
great.
all that matters.
And then we went to the bar that they had there. It's so weird. It's such a nice place on the inside, and then they have the world's like most slapstick kind of like trashy tiki bar attached to it. It's so weird.
I kind of dig it though.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's there for like because there's a lot of like it's right near Trenton, and it's right near a lot of like industrial areas
and a lot of residents that don't have access to get to any kind of like real like complex areas where restaurants and bars normally are.
So the weird thing is like the bar inside had like all these beers that you could buy from the bottle, a pretty good selection on tap too. But when you go out to the tiki bar and you ask for things, they're like, yeah, we got Bud and Rolling Rock and I was like, oh my God, you got all the shit beers. And they're like, no, we got Dogfish Head. And I was like, I mean, it's okay. I guess that's what I'll take. And I ended up getting a Mediterranean mule, which is basically like a Moscow mule, just with different, just instead.
How was the crowd?
Oh,
I'm just curious because like I haven't been there on a Saturday night.
Middle aged, perfect for you. So the best part of the night came when this girl. So when you walk out of Arini, if you go towards the bar, it gets a little confusing because there's kind of like a garden that's there, and there's a pathway to the garden, but the pathway just ends, and then it's about a 5-foot drop down to the walkway. So you actually have to take another walkway that goes around and then takes you down to the bar. So this drunk girl must have left the bar inside, took the wrong pathway, and instead of backtracking and going around the right path to get to the tiki bar, she decided to jump.
Oh God.
5 feet down in heels. Her face kissed the ground so hard, dude. Like, so Lauren wasn't watching. Like, she was like facing me and we were talking, and like I'm watching the whole thing go down. I stopped hearing what Lauren was saying because I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna jump. Oh my God, she's gonna jump. Oh my God. And I wanted to say something, but I didn't want to bring attention to it because
you wanted to relish the moment.
I was like a man. I was like a nature documentarian. You don't want to interfere. You just have to let it You just have to let it happen.
Yeah.
You don't want to see the baby animal get eaten by the predator, but sometimes that's nature. So I didn't say anything to Lauren, and the next thing you hear is and I'm looking, and her face bashed right into the concrete. No blood or anything, but you saw a big red spot. You saw the tears welling up in her eyes. It hurt.
Was there anybody else around?
No one saw. No one else saw. There's at least 10 other people at the bar area.
At least she got up.
No one. She got up. She kind of like dusted herself off, and she did the most play it off cool thing ever. She walked around the bar, kind of like looked around, and then like it all took place in like 10 seconds. Walked around the horseshoe bar, and then walked back up the path, and I guess left.
Oh man, yeah.
And like I told Lauren about it afterwards, and I was like, if everyone had saw, and I wanted to applaud her and be like, you played it off. Like
something. I mean, like, I just would have loved to like shake her hand or something, like, offer,
Dude,
a shot of whiskey or something
landed,
to
and
numb
it was,
the pain.
She landed and it was like ice, like her heels landed on ice, and everything just slid out from under her, and she like,
just don't do that in heels. Oh my god!
Just take.
And I know that restaurant is steep.
Yeah,
it's perched up on this like weird hill.
It's like a 5-foot drop,
and there's like tiers for the parking lot, and she's jumping. Oh my lord, that's terrible.
She didn't even take off the heels, man. Like I could see if she took off the heels and like jumped.
I blame the friend.
There was no friend.
Oh, she's solo.
Yeah, I think she was there to meet somebody, and I guess like after she's there to meet Jay. So
probably if she's doing something stupid like that, yeah.
And then on Sunday we went together, me, you, and Lauren, on a trio date. We went to Shad Fest, which if you don't know what the shad is very much like a mackerel or a bunker, or it's almost kind of like a bait fish. It's not anything great to eat, but they spawn like salmon. They come up the Delaware River. They make it to about the Trenton Makes Bridge before the water gets too shallow, and that's about as far as they get up. They spawn, they die, but this is the time of year that they're running, and it's apparently like a big deal that you're like supposed to be catching shad.
It's a silly.
There was 5 boats out there.
Yeah, it's just a silly, fun reason to celebrate something.
And there's street vendors, and every place has like a special. So we get there, we park on the other side of the river, we walk across the Walkabout Bridge, and Lauren is hungry, so we go to eat at the at a place called the Station House. And there's nothing that bothers me more than a place that sets itself up to be like, hey, we're outdoorsy, we're the everyman restaurant, and then they slap you with outrageous prices, like $40 for like a BLT sandwich and some rice pilaf.
Well, I could have told you that because I used to work there.
Oh my god!
But I thought that what we were looking at was a different menu. And I don't think we got that menu.
2 station houses. There's the inside station house, and there's the outdoor patio, which is the grill.
Right. That's what I thought we were going to get. We didn't get that menu.
You would think that the outdoor patio bar, the outdoor patio by the bar that's called La Grill, would be cheaper than the swank inside restaurant with copper tables.
Which is expensive, yeah.
Right. It was just as expensive out there. And I mean, it's not like you're paying for the scenery either, because you're looking at the overgrown weeds that have grown over a once thriving railroad station that is now dead and no one uses.
It's historic charm, Dave.
It's not. There were grasshoppers and mosquitoes because we were by the river. It was not. And I looked at the prices and we left, and we spent $10
I'm so
each.
happy we left. We found this cool place.
We spent $10 each, and we had some decent barbecue, which is not easy to find in Pennsylvania or New Jersey.
Literally in the middle of a random little side street.
And then we got to draw on the chalkboard.
I know.
I put Thanos' fist up there.
Did you post that photo?
I did, yeah.
Cool.
So I'll post that after this episode. Because I didn't post it, no.
I did.
But I did take those pictures.
But yeah, it was fun, and then we just walked around, just tried different breweries, and it was the weather turned, so we went the day after the really nice day.
Turn around.
But it was a good time. It was a good little outing. We haven't gone out and had a good time in a while, I think, and it was nice. It was nice.
Yeah, I definitely had a good time. It's been a little while since we went there, but I was really kind of underwhelmed by Shad Fest, just because everyone's always like, Shad Fest, man, it's Shad Fest, and we go there, and it's just a couple street vendors. It's kind of like a street flea market.
It's just a reason to drink.
But there wasn't that many people drinking. It's just people like.
That's what I'm saying. I think the weather. I think everybody was doing it yesterday. The day before
Saturday. Yeah. So
Saturday.
It's kind of like every antique store in the area vomited onto the street, and then they just erected booths to sell random shit. But we did go to a weird fucking place, which I will also post the pictures of that too. A weird fucking place called the Boathouse, which you told us about because there's not many bars in this town. There's
Right.
like 3. There's the station
not many.
house, which is stupidly expensive. Then there is maybe like a draft horse, I think it's called.
It's an odd little town,
Yeah.
literally across the river from a really big happening like restaurant and bar town.
A hipster town.
Yeah.
And it kind of like looks across the river and it's like, we can be that
Sort of.
once a year when we have Shadfest. But so we go to this place called the Boathouse, and the Boathouse is run by 2 geriatric women, like just old ass women, right? So they tell us we have to wait for more people to leave because they're already at capacity. And then we go inside and she's like, we've just made you a table upstairs. So we're going upstairs, and when they call it a boathouse, there are wooden model boats hanging all over the place on the ceiling. Every bit of the wall is covered in some sort of boating memorabilia, whether it's rowing, it's crew, it's Fish and Game magazine with a boat.
This
or
place
it's
is not for
Bassmaster.
everybody at all. It's very tight and claustrophobic.
It's dark as shit. The glass it's so, this place is so old that when they
But it's charming, dude.
when they use like old glass, when it used to be like handmade glass and stuff, what eventually happens to it is it eventually runs and stuff like that, and it's no longer clear. It's kind of like opaque. That's exactly what all the windows were. You could like some light came through, but not a lot. It's pretty dark, and we're walking through, and there's like all these people just sitting in random places. There's a couch here with a table here, and then a couple stools over there. There's someone sitting on a fucking milk crate, and then we go upstairs, even creepier up there, and our table.
Also, where the only bathroom is.
Yeah, we were right next to the bathroom, which is, me and Lauren always complain every time we go to a restaurant, we're the bathroom people. We're the people who get stuck by the bathroom or right by the front door. So in the middle of the winter, when the door opens, you're like, ugh. But we get up there, and our table is 3 stools around another stool, and that was our table.
Yep.
And like even the sink in the bathroom was the sink from a naval ship. Like,
Was it? I didn't go in there.
everything was like, you wouldn't have fit. My head was touching the ceiling in the bathroom. I couldn't imagine you taking a piss. You would have pissed on your pants.
And
100%.
I've been there. I've been there a few times actually, and I don't think I've never used the bathroom there. I make sense now. I probably wouldn't be able to fit in there. So, it's a weird, charming little spot. If you want something unique and something to just soak up the weird scenery and have a drink, maybe 2, you can go there on like a date or something.
I don't know.
That, but that's about it.
$13 for a bad old fashioned.
I wouldn't go back there for a cocktail. I would just have a beer.
What they need to do is get themselves some movie cocktails. I know. I should just take over a place like that.
We got to be pushing this, you know?
All right, Jay. We've talked enough about each other. We've filleted each other enough. What did you watch this week, man?
Well, really quick, Dave, I just wanted to say that I did rewatch The Avengers Infinity War in Dolby.
Awesome. It was awesome, wasn't it?
My score stays B+.
Really?
I still really enjoyed it. I did love the Dolby experience, but I still stick by my grade. That's all I'm going to say about that. Just wanted to throw it out there because
right.
I did leave that as a cliffhanger. I also watched, as you did, Kodachrome on Netflix, the Jason Sudeikis and Elizabeth Olsen with Ed Harris movie. It's a simple little film. It's a drama about, Jason Sudeikis has a brilliant photographer father who's just a drunk fuck up.
Played by Ed Harris.
Played by Ed Harris, rarely in his life growing up. And he's dying. And his nurse, played by Elizabeth Olsen, comes to him and says he wants him specifically to drive him to this one final location to print this film roll that he has to see what's on there, because it's a very old film roll that was shot a long time ago.
It's the last place in the country that is developing
the Kodachrome,
Kodachrome film,
right?
And everyone who shoots in that has been using it for years. People who have had rolls laying around never got developed. They all wanted to get there to do it, and it's weird. It's kind of like a shanty town outside of it. Mm-hmm. There's a hotel outside that everyone's staying at, but there's RVs and stuff, and people camping out trying to get their old Kodachrome film developed. And it's just he asks him to come along because he's dying. Ed Harris's character is dying, and it's not like it's his last wish, but he kind of in a quiet moment, asked his personal nurse, played by Elizabeth Olsen, that to get his son to do it, and he winds up blackmailing his son through his lawyer, to get him there.
He's a shithead, but I think in the same way he understands a lot of things about life, and also the people that's surrounded him. That there's just no filter. He wants something, and then also he would like to see how things play out in front of him at the same time. So like
he likes to stir up shit.
Yeah, having his cute single nurse and his struggling single son that he doesn't see come together to do this little thing for him might be fun for him to watch as he goes across country to get this film developed. And drama ensues, humor ensues, emotional sparring ensues, and it's one of those things where the performances were all fine and solid for the most part. It just did not 100%.
No, it didn't work. It failed to meet
love. I didn't love it. It wasn't something that I cared.
So here's what it did.
About.
It tried to balance the quirky comedy along with drama, and it failed to do that. Its drama didn't hit you hard enough, but its comedy was never high enough to make you feel like anything. I mean, it's a decent watch. It's not a waste of your time. It's on Netflix. It is not a bad way to spend a Saturday night.
It's quick, 90 minutes or something.
Yeah. Me and Lauren both enjoyed it pretty heavily, but it's nothing terribly special.
I gave it a B-. I mean, it's definitely something I think is solid. It's a solid little film. It's definitely one of those things where it was right up my alley. It was one of those movies that I heard about and I was excited to see on Netflix, because there's not many original movies from Netflix coming out that I actually want to see.
I don't think Kodachrome's an original Netflix.
I think it was. Don't know? No? Okay, no. I'm sorry. I thought it was.
I did watch an original Netflix film, and this one is not worth anyone's time at all. It is Adam Sandler's latest Netflix film, The Week Of.
Yeah, I never would see that.
And it was fucking terrible. So in my mind, it's about a father who is middle class, lower middle class, and he's trying to give his daughter the absolute best wedding that he possibly can, and everything goes wrong. The daughter is marrying the son of a rich doctor and stuff like that. He refuses help anytime it's given because he's a guy. He's from Long Island. He's too proud. He's too proud to take the help and everything like that. It was just it failed to be funny. There were moments where like you felt like it was going to turn around, like, all right, here's where a funny moment is going to happen, and then whatever joke they used in that moment, it doesn't land. It doesn't land, and it bounces back and forth between this slapstick humor and this situational humor, and none of it ever really comes together. None of it works, and no one works really in it at all. Even Chris Rock, who you would expect to have some bombastic, slam down, like crack up jokes, doesn't do it.
I really don't think that Netflix watches or has any say over any Adam Sandler property at all. Think about it. I don't think.
I like the fact
do.
that Netflix stays out of things. It means that they could point to something and say like, "Hey, we give full creative control to our people when we sign with them."
I get it, and I think they do. I really do think they
because
I really do think they actually do that.
If they did, then they would just be like every other studio, and you don't want them to.
I understand that, but the fact that he hasn't made any movie that anybody likes since being on Netflix,
There's one joke that I cracked up at because it is the most subverted racist joke ever, and it's just kind of funny in a way. So and it is perfect lower middle class type racism joke. So he is housing all of Chris Rock's family in his house because the hotel that he booked is breaking down, and he goes to leave the house, and there's two black gentlemen walking down the street. And he goes, "Oh, come on, guys, come on in. We're just serving breakfast." They're not related to Chris Rock at all. But because they were black guys in his neighborhood, he assumed that they were, and he brought them in. And I was like, oh my God, it's like, it just skirts the line of racism, that it's so subvertedly racist that, like, I was like, that is the only joke in the film that actually worked. Everything else is completely ridiculous. The entire family catching bats to put in City Hall, ridiculous. everything that Steve Buscemi does in the film. He buys duty-free liquor, and it's all giant sized, right? It comes in 10-gallon bottles. Like, he buys a giant Toblerone candy, chocolate bar for the dessert table. It was just nothing in it ever came together at all. And that's true of just about every single Adam Sandler film on Netflix. Jay, did you watch anything else?
Yes, I actually saw as well American Pastoral. This is Ewan McGregor's directorial debut. And this is a movie that was based from the Philip Roth novel. John Romano was the screenplay writer, and this has a stellar cast of himself playing the Swede, his wife played by Jennifer Connelly, daughter Dakota Fanning. And this movie,
oh man, this is like a who's who of indie films, huh?
Yeah, kind of.
Jennifer Connelly.
I'll tell you what, though, this movie, it's well made. It's just so dour and really just not. This, I feel like it's just probably from the source material. It's just
I want
such a
everybody to notice that
heavy movie.
That Jay has found a new word to use. He didn't use banal. He used a different word, dour. It's a short word, but it's got some deep meaning.
Deep.
Again, you just graduated the first grade into second grade.
I'm getting there.
Proud papa.
I'm becoming enlightened.
Proud papa right here.
Baby step by baby step.
Now, don't use that word next episode.
Can't promise that.
That was the word of the day calendar going, by the way.
I'm waiting for it in the mail. And I love me some Ewan McGregor. I got a man crush on that guy. I love him. I've always have. And I was looking forward to this picture. And it's just something that you can kind of respect what he tried to accomplish. It just didn't succeed at what it was trying to do.
Again, another word you use that always makes my eyebrow go up.
What?
So there's like 3 different levels of movie fans. Like, people who say movies, those are usually like, there's people who enjoy movies but don't.
I say movies and films
aren't like you and I. Then there's people like me. I say film because most of the time I don't know why. I just use the word film. So it means I'm slightly a level of jackass over to people who say movies. But you take it to like this 10th degree. Anyone who says picture is automatically a douchebag. Like, oh, did you see that picture? Like, if it's not coming out of the mouth of an old man who's calling it a picture, then it's coming out of the mouth of a self-entitled asshole.
I'm telling you right now, I have a feeling it has to be some podcast that I listen to, because there are a couple podcasts that I actually listen to which are extremely highbrow, so and it drives me insane. So but they're so in the know in the Hollywood behind the scenes world that I find it intriguing to know what they have like as far as their points of view, but they're such douchebags.
So listening back when I was editing the Event Horizon movie cocktail, I stopped counting the number of times you said this picture.
Oh,
I was like, oh my God. I was like, every time you talked, I was like, resident douchebag, what do you have to say?
May as well. I mean, our listeners probably already know that.
Resident film douchebag who plays golf, what do you have to say?
What do you have to say, man?
Boring and pedantic.
Yep. Pop your collar and go pour yourself a bourbon again.
I found it very banal. Dour and banal. Boring and pedantic.
Yes.
Stop saying picture, please.
Yes.
I will work on not saying film anymore. We'll find new words that sound less douchey.
The silver screen.
Oh my God. No, that's even worse. Never mind.
I know. So, but it follows this family in the 60s, and essentially they're just an upper class family, all well-meaning, well-to-do. They live in the countryside in the burbs. He works in this big plant that he owns in Newark, New Jersey. And their daughter just seems to raise up in the radical era of the Vietnam War and becomes this radical, like almost terrorist in her own country for this movement because she's anti-war. Anti-everything. That's American.
Right. We all fight violence, with tyrannical violence. That's how we fight violence. Good.
Sort of.
All right, we're done talking about this movie because speaking of that age,
nothing special,
and hippies and stuff, I watched a documentary on Netflix called Wild Wild Country.
I've heard about it.
It is extremely interesting. It's a little banal at times. it's a little boring at times. I found the first episode to be interesting, and then second and third to not really be interesting. But then the third episode ends very on a note that you're like, what? And then it never really grabbed me in a way where I was like, God damn, I can't believe this happened. But there is like I could see Aaron Sorkin making a film about this story. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of story. So, I mean, what happens is, Rajneesh Param, there is, they start a town, right outside of Antelope, Oregon, called Rajneesh Param. The Rajneeshis were, they were the followers of a Bhagwan, who was a guy who came from India, who, like at first it was all about him like seeking enlightenment and stuff like that. And then the more you find out about him, he's not very much of an enlightened person at all, because he allows himself to be corrupted by Hollywood people. And you really find out he's just a guy. And I hesitate to call it a cult, because I don't want to use that word in a negative way, but it essentially starts a cult. And they live right outside of Antelope, and the people of Antelope are again, I don't want to be derogatory, but simple people. They are usually older people, more of the retirement age, who are living out their days in sprawling open land in Antelope, Oregon, and they don't like these Rajneeshis moving in. They're curious about them, but also like anything that has to do with humanity, anything we don't understand, we immediately don't trust. So that's the way that the Antelopians look at the Rajneeshis, and the Rajneeshis eventually it all spearheads with the Rajneeshis pretty much buying the town of Antelope and then running it. And that winds up spiraling out of control when it comes to an election, because the Rajneeshis were not happy with just owning Antelope. They wanted to own all of Waco County in Oregon, and they were going to buy the votes. And it just becomes interesting about how they buy the votes, what crimes wind up being committed, who winds up going to jail for what. It does have interesting moments.
Heavy.
Yeah, it is. It's really interesting. It didn't wow me in a way where I was like, God, everybody's got to watch this. It's not that type of documentary. It's a type of documentary where it's got to strike you, right? Like you, if it doesn't grab you by the first or second episode, stop. Don't keep going with it.
True.
It's not the type of docuseries like Making a Murderer where like it grabs you in the first episode, right? Because no murders happened in this, right? Like, as Americans, we love murder. Like, we love intrigue. We love serial killers. We love stuff like that. That's not this type. It's just more of like, this is a thing that happened in our history and not many people remember it. It's also done by the Duplass brothers. So I expect it to be kind of like that weird, like their viewpoint on the world is very strange. So
yes, definitely off center.
Yeah. So, but I really enjoyed it. And at times it's very well balanced. At times I found myself hating the people of Antelope, because I'm like, just leave them alone. Let them live on their commune. Let them have their wild sex parties. Let them do their weird meditation stuff. It's not hurting you, them being there. It's not. But they poke them long enough, and then at some point when the Rajneeshis are fighting the Antelopians, you're just like, all right, guys, back off. I mean, you won. You owned the town. Do you need the whole county now? Like, how big do you have to be? When are you satisfied? And it's just these two groups going back and forth. And in the end, you're just like, both of them are jackasses.
Right.
You're all a bunch of jackasses. You happy? But it's very interesting. I did enjoy watching it. So anybody who's interested in it, definitely check it out on Netflix. It's been out for a little while, so I think it's found its audience. But that's the nice thing about Netflix.
Yeah, they do a nice little push in the first couple weeks.
Yeah, if you didn't watch it, it's always there for you to check it out. All right, Jay, you ready to get into some trailer park?
Let's do it.
We got 2 trailer park films that we're going to be talking about, so here it goes. Jay, you ready to get into trailer park?
Let's do it.
We're going to be talking about the second trailer for Ant-Man and the first trailer for Luke Cage Season 2. So first up is Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Maybe you just need someone watching your back. Like a partner.
Dr. Pym, I actually heard what happened to you. You opened up the quantum realm. That's when this crazy creepy ghost who walks through walls and stuff. Stole your tech. And now she wants to take over the world or whatever. Who would have believed that in your hour of need, you would turn to us? Not me. Because we robbed you. Do you remember? That's us.
So this trailer is clearly the story trailer. Like Michael Pena literally spells out the kind of like the plot of the movie to you. So
who better?
Yeah, they wind up getting robbed by this new villain, the Ghost, who is clearly using. You can see by the way that the new villain, who isn't really a new villain, new to the MCU, but she is a villain in the comic books, and she is a corporate espionage villain. Uses a suit like Iron Man, and is actually usually an Iron Man villain. It's not like Ant-Man has like his own villains really. So it makes sense that they're borrowing some of Stark's villains for his films. And she steals Pym's tech, and even in the suit, when you see there's kind of like rainbow colors that are being used as she's phasing in and out of things, and as she's like kind of like looking at herself in this suit in the trailer, she's clearly using the quantum realm, right? Because we see that spaceship that we saw in the first one that we all said was going to go into the quantum realm. We actually see it being used in this trailer in the quantum realm, and there's that same color that's all around. We even see it come out of like this rainbow color, and that's clearly Hank Pym going into the quantum realm to pull the Wasp out, the original Wasp, who's going to be being played by Michelle Pfeiffer, who's absent from this trailer. I thought this trailer was going to be like Ant-Man and the Wasp, right? And then it was going to show her.
It was an odd cut.
They didn't show
this
her.
trailer was pretty oddly cut together.
I'm not crazy about the music in it. I want to rock right now.
Yeah.
I hate that. I didn't like that at all.
It wasn't great. It was okay.
Not as charming.
It was okay.
Not as charming as like.
It didn't bother me that much, but it was certainly not great. It did not pack the punch that you would want.
Right.
It definitely threw a lot at you though, as far as story wise, and more scenes and more things and more action.
So obviously, I mean, we know now after seeing Infinity War, there's no way this takes place post Infinity War. Just impossible. It takes place before Infinity War. Ant-Man. This film will end with him and Van Dyne seeing the attack on New York by the donut-shaped spaceship.
Yeah.
Right? That's where this one will end.
Well, which is fun.
Or they'll get a call from
I would love that. That'd be really cool. It'd be really cool. But it's obviously exactly right after Civil War, though.
Even darker, Jay. What if Scott is standing there and he knows everything that's going on with Infinity War, and as him and the Wasp are packing up to go help Nick Fury and Clint Barton, the Wasp just turns to dust in front of him.
Damn. Oh, shit. Oh. I'm actually really loving that idea.
Right?
Dave. Where's daughter?
Oh,
that's dark.
That's
dark,
too dark. Because Hawkeye's kids have to die.
Yeah, that's a little
holy
too dark.
shit! Spoiler warnings for Infinity War.
Hold on here. Hold up. Stop the tape.
Nah, fuck that. Everyone listens to our Infinity War thing.
Anyway,
but yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it'd be fucked up, right?
That. I would I would love that. I would love
you
that.
would, but you're gonna have this mostly comedy fun romp
exactly.
with Paul Rudd that
but
ends,
to pack an emotional punch like that,
or even
if
Hank Pym just disappears, right? Like any one of these characters you'd care about, or Michael Pena.
Anybody.
Michael Pena is my reason for sticking around, because I love the way he breaks down. I love the way he breaks down the story of this film.
Yeah,
because we robbed you, right? Right.
He's the best, man. There is no better supporting actor in Hollywood than Michael Pena, and he's in fucking everything.
I love Michael Pena in it, so I really enjoyed that scene. Clearly, him and his burglary friends, his robbery friends, burglary. They're burglars. Remember, robbers hurt people. Burglars do it without anyone knowing. Him and his burglar friends, T.I. Included in that, have started like this security company, and Hank Pym is going to them because Hank Pym Pym's building has been stolen by Walter Goggins' character.
Of course.
Who is a character from the comic books as well.
2018's favorite villain.
Yeah, Walter Goggins. I love Walter Goggins. I mean, the Hateful Eight is better because Goggins is in it.
Well, that's true.
Goggins is
that's probably my favorite role of his.
He's probably the best role in the film, him and Sam Jackson, which is why, they are the ones at the end because they're the ones you like the most. So, but it looks like it's going to be a lot of the same level of fun, even more fun. Because I think, like I said before, Peyton Reed is kind of getting to do his own thing now. Like before, he was working on a partial script from Edgar Wright and didn't really make a whole lot of changes because he was brought in sort of when the film was already in production. This is his film from the ground up, so he's allowed to make it as crazy as he wants to make it. He's allowed to within Marvel's guidelines, but he's allowed to take it in the direction that he wants to take it into, and I'm kind of excited for it. I'm just a little worried that the story is just kind of getting like a little. It's just going to be another Marvel villain, right? Like the Ghost is just another Marvel villain. It's just another cookie cutter story, which is kind of like what Ant-Man was. I mean, the first film was great because of the character, not because of the story around him.
I'm a little worried about that because that's what they showed.
Yeah, exactly.
However, the action was very fun to watch. It was I had a lot of like Deadpool feel to it and some other little ingredients sprinkled throughout the movie, but it was a lot of fun. It was still cool.
When we watched the trailer, you were bringing something up and you were like, I wonder why he's using like that truck to skateboard with, right? Like he's resting his knee on it. And we were talking about how Ant-Man doesn't move very fast when he's when
just
he's
like
large.
Civil War, when he blows up, he's very like
right. And
slow,
I was thinking
kind of
like the whole point of Ant-Man is that he's not super strong. It's just when he shrinks down, he keeps the same density and strength level as a full-sized man, which is why when he punches someone as Ant-Man, they get hit like they were getting hit like by anybody else, which is why like he can't be stomped on because he's still the same level of density as a regular man. But when he grows big, he's probably still the same density level as a regular man.
It makes sense,
which
right?
means if he were to full on sprint at large size, shatter his bones and like collapse in agony and pain.
Yeah, I mean, so he would. So he's trying to stop this truck. He'd have the same strength,
right?
But he has the size and probably the weight maybe the weight. I don't know. But he's kind of digging up the street somehow with his feet, but whatever. Either way,
tough call.
It's Hollywood. It's a movie.
You go with it.
It's called Ant-Man and a Wasp. All right,
come on,
relax. So it makes sense. It's kind of fun. It's just one of those things where I kind of forgot. It's kind of nice to get reintroduced into this world again and discover their powers along with them.
What do you think of his little conversation with Larry Fishburne? Where he's just like, how big did you get? 21 feet, 65 feet. Right. And like, it's kind of like a dick measuring contest.
Oh, big time. Heavy. Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking forward to it. And like I said before, it's going to be very strange seeing this film after Infinity War. It's very strange to see other MCU films after seeing that. Cause it's like, I mean, but I want it because this character, spoilers.
What's the release date?
The release date's not till July. It's July 4th weekend, pretty much, is when it's coming out. So, we got this one, and then we got Captain Marvel in March next year, just before Infinity War 2 comes out. Well, Avengers 4.
I'm a little surprised they spent the kind of coin to have this kind of release date over the 4th of July weekend. I think they would.
Are you surprised? Because it's Marvel. I mean, you are acutely aware of the fact that $1.6 billion is what Avengers Infinity War. It is the fastest growing movie ever.
I know.
But more money in its opening weekend.
But this is going to be coming close on its heels, and I don't know if it's going to be fatigue or not. So that's why I was thinking maybe late September.
No, I think they distanced themselves enough from Infinity War. All right, Jay.
And plus, it's obviously a whole different kind of tone. It's going to be a lot more fun than Infinity War as far as like the energy level of it all.
All right, Jay. Let's move over to our second trailer, man. Let's move over to Luke Cage Season 2 for Netflix.
Anyone who can take you on barehanded can't be good for Harlem. I gotta find him.
Bushmaster. What makes him so scary?
We hope you never have to find out. Get your bush mess, then I'm coming.
It's game time. Do what you want. We stifling fools. Do what you want. Your life for your choose. Respect my Brooklyn man.
I've seen you raw, but never brutal.
Sometimes brutality gets shit done.
Harlem doesn't need a hero. It needs a queen.
The darkness that you deal with every day, it can't consume you whole. If you let it. Don't let it.
So that is Luke Cage Season 2. For those of you wondering, who's the badass guy who does like that, who does the leg trip on him and throws him the uppercut that knocks him the fuck out? That's the Bushman, who, again, is another member of the Serpent Society in the comics, just like his previous villain. But in this, the Bushman looks very different than his comic book counterpart, who was a man who pretty much had a snake body with these giant claws that came out of his wrists. This Bushman is very, very different. He's obviously more human looking, but just like Luke Cage, he has advanced strength. Invulnerability to an extent. And then he also, eventually in the comics gains the power to absorb energy and then disperse it back at them. So it's very possible that every punch this guy takes from Luke Cage, he takes it in and pushes it right back, much like Black Panther's.
I'll tell you. Yeah.
What a cool tie-in it would be if the Bushman was from Wakanda, right?
Yeah. Actually, that would kind of make sense a little bit more. Perhaps,
or
right?
at least someone like Ulysses Claw who's aware of Wakanda in like some way. And I thought it'd be nice to start tying them in, because
a little bit, like little by little, just little Easter eggs for.
I still have a dream, and I think I posted the picture. I posted the picture to our group chat.
I know, I loved it.
I took Captain Marvel and I cut her and Hawkeye and Ant-Man and Korg all together, and I called them the New Avengers. And I thought that'd be kind of fun, with Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, and Daredevil all together. Like if they showed up in Avengers 4, it'd be kind of sick. But at the same time, I really don't think Marvel would ever do that. But I really enjoyed this trailer, man. I feel like this captures the essence of the characters so perfectly. It uses music far better than the Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer does.
Definitely.
And I really like that it shows you it's continuing that story from the last season. It's picking up right where that one left off.
It does, and the trailer doesn't get dull or boring. It has a lot of different kind of various cuts and scenes and shots and fights with different kind of characters, where you can see he's going to be going through a lot. He's going to be obviously investigating. He's going to be looking for some people for various things and various reasons. And it's going to be good old Luke Cage, and Luke Cage with his shirt off, and it's going to be great. So everybody, your wife's going to love it. You'll love it. It's going to be fun.
And Mariah Dillard is back. Her and Hernan Shades from the first season are going to return as kind of like the long running antagonists for Luke Cage. He missed out on capturing
which
them
is great, because I enjoyed them enough. Yeah, exactly.
So it just looks like it's going to be a fun romp like the first one was.
Yes.
And we get little hints at, I talked about when we reviewed the first season of it, Misty Knight gets that, she loses her arm. And I said, like in the comics, she's always had like a mechanical arm.
Yeah.
We see her looking at schematics for it. And towards the end of the trailer, we see her wearing that mechanical arm, throwing a punch at some
which
guy
is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And one of the great things about this fucking series is that it has this energy that none of the other series really fully have all the way through. It does still carry that emotional weight along with it, which is really cool. I feel like the world matches the character
the best in Luke Cage. Like the world of Harlem that they've built, like Luke Cage's Harlem matches his personality and matches who he is.
I think you're probably right.
A lot better than, say, Jessica Jones, who's another Hell's Kitchen hero, right? Like, where Hell's Kitchen, like the Hell's Kitchen that we see in Daredevil, it's only his version of Hell's Kitchen. That's not like what Hell's Kitchen is really like.
It's bleak perspectives on bleak individuals,
right? Where like Luke Cage allows itself to have moments of levity, allows itself to have moments of action, allows itself to have these dark moments, these sweet moments where him and we see that Rosario Dawson's going to be back as her night nurse. So it's nice to see, like, it's probably the best balanced of them, where like we all may love Daredevil for the dark, for the brutality, for the fight scenes, and for the drama of it, but at the same time, like, that character never breathes for you at all. Like, he doesn't let you breathe. Like, it's so dark, it's so dramatic, it's so one note throughout the entire time. This is one that breathes. Like, he feels like a more fully fleshed out character. He has ranges of emotions, and his environment changes from literally night to day. Who he is in the day is a public face. Him signing things and taking pictures with kids and stuff like that. Like, he's not only trying to stop crime in Harlem and by taking down the bad guys at night by his fists, he's also trying to be an example for people, which is why I think at one point, in the trailer, you can hear someone refer to him as Jesus. So it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I really cannot wait for it. And it's going to be starting on June 22nd. So, of course, once the series is watched by both me and Jay, me and Lauren will definitely watch it. It's opening weekend. We'll have our full review for the season when that comes out. Coming up next, man, we're going to get into our beers and our drunk scene for this week.
Yes.
Welcome back to the beer segment. Before me and Jay get into this week's drunk scene and the 2 beers we got to review for you, we got to pay the bills, Jay. We got to talk about our sponsor, Blowfish. With Cinco de Mayo just happening, I'm sure there's a few people that woke up the next morning with a little bit of a regret for having that last drink.
Absolutely.
Good thing that there's a cure out there for it. And this cure is FDA approved. It's Blowfish. You can go over to www.forhangovers.com and buy yourself some Blowfish. You just put 2 tablets of that into some water, wait till it dissolves, drink that water down, and within 15 minutes, you're going to start feeling better. That hangover is going to start going away. The fog is going to clear, and you are going to feel so much better than you did before.
And I can attest, Dave, because I literally did that after Cinco de Mayo, enjoying myself a little too much, and I had a 10-mile race the next day. So I took Blowfish and made me feel so much better, and I was able to run a great time.
And for just under $1.25 a dose, you could feel better. That is cheaper than the $4 greasy breakfast sandwich that you're going to purchase in an attempt to make you feel better. So head over to www.forhangovers.com and use the code SMBFISH at checkout for your 15% off.
Definitely.
Now that the bills are paid, it's time to jump into this week's drunk scene. We just got done doing a month of MCU drunk scenes leading into Infinity War. So I figured what better way to start this month off with May, since we're going to be getting into Deadpool and Solo, than with a X-Men related drunk scene.
Excuse me, I'm Eric Lensher.
Tell Xavier.
Go fuck yourself.
Short and brief. Not really a drunk scene per se,
but the best of scenes, right?
But in the what it wound up being was that Eric Lensher, Magneto, and Charles Xavier are going around and in X-Men First Class, and they're building their team of mutants to
It's one of my favorite parts of the movie. It's fun.
And they're going around and they're collecting their team and they're picking them up, and they walk into a bar, and sitting there is everyone's favorite knuckle mutant, Wolverine, and he's smoking a cigar and he's drinking a beer. And that's just, I mean, it's the cameo that you want, right? Like
the theater went wild.
Oh my God. Yeah. And it's very brief, and they saved their one PG-13 fuck for him.
Yeah.
Which is nice. So I went nuts when I saw that. I thought that was a great way to tie him in. And it was just fun. And, X-Men First Class really was kind of the revival of the X-Men universe.
It really was.
Days of Future Past is by far, the best, if not second to best, X-Men film, because I still like X2 a lot. But yeah, that was just an absolute treat when I saw that in the theater. So it's a fun scene, but no one's drunk in it, really. It's just Wolverine drinking because, Wolverine's going to Wolverine.
Yeah.
He's going to drink.
But just the way they shot it is exactly just perfect for the characters. And it's brief, short. How Wolverine doesn't even flinch.
Yeah,
he just senses them. He knows exactly who they are and what they want. And he's like, fuck off.
You can smell them. All right, Jay, you got a beer that you're going to be reviewing, man. Tell us about your beer. I
have myself the No Joke Joker IPA at Atwater Brewery. So this one is 7% alcohol by volume, and it says that it's a low IBU ale, and it definitely gets that kind of note. This is from Detroit, and it has those kind of weird, soft, vanilla-y kind of flavors to it that it does not. Yeah, it's an extremely for me whatsoever, especially not for an IPA. I mean, this is an odd beer that doesn't quite. It doesn't justify the bottle. This bottle sold me. It's a really cool painting on the bottle. It's got a fun little title, No Joke Joker, and the taste and the flavor of the beer is no fun. It gives you zero descriptions of the beer. No, not at all. Not at all. And I call it an IPA, but then it's really low IBUs and not hoppy at all. And it's very bizarre. It's more of a brown ale, like a very kind of sweet brown ale. Like a lager or something. It's very bizarre. I'm not a fan of it. I'm pretty disappointed by it. Actually, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5. It's definitely something I'm not enjoying. Yeah, it's drinkable, so you can't knock it too hard. I'm trying not to, because it is. You're right. It is drinkable, but it's certainly nothing special. It's false advertisement all the way around. Very. Unlike our sponsor, Blowfish, which is actually works. It does. I feel like we're paying those bills way too hard. Better cool it. I've been pushing it. All right. So I am drinking the Yards Brewing Company straight out of Philly. This is the Golden Hop IPA. So this beer is incredibly juicy up front. Dude, it packs you with some heavy fruit notes in there. Some tangerine, mango, grapefruit. It is hopped with Mosaic and Amarillo hops, and it is very, very crisp. It's nice and juicy up front, little hoppy on the back end, not crazy, not too bitter, not too dry hopped. It is really it's Jay's favorite. It's a summer sipper, man. Yeah, man, that's right. And this beer is 6% alcohol per volume, so it would be a nice summer sipper. You could drink this on a hot summer afternoon, because Jay, we're getting into summer weather, man. We are schwitzing in the studio right now. We are. Lauren refuses to turn on the air conditioners because we have to save on electricity, and it's only May, so it has to be June before we can turn on that air conditioner. So we have to sit there with hot soupy balls in this house. We're wearing minimal clothing in this studio. No, Jay, you are wearing long dungarees. I know. I am regretting this right now. Yeah, I should have brought some basketball shorts. That chair you're sitting on is going to have a hefty ball sweat stain on it. It's going to. But me and Captain America in that movie theater are going to be competing. That's right. You both can wring your balls out and see who has the schwittier ones. So this beer, I'm going to be giving it. I'm just going to be giving it a solid 3.75. It's not crazy good, right? It's just pretty good. It's just pretty good. So yeah, it's not a terrible beer. I do enjoy it. It's just nothing wowing. So I'm going to be giving it a 3.75. So coming up next, me and Jay are going to be asking you to change our minds. It's just a little bit of a segment that we are going to be doing to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of everyone's favorite Indiana Jones film to hate,
liked Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I don't think is all that bad. So I asked everybody on Twitter, changed my mind. Welcome to a new segment that I'm going to call It's Not That Bad, Change My Mind. It's a popular internet meme that goes around where people, you know, like one of the popular ones I see is like Pop-Tarts or raviolis. Change my mind. You know?
It's all about how you say it, David.
It's all about how you say it. So, for the first time that we're going to be doing this, the whole idea is to take a film that is widely regarded as awful or bad, and then say, it's not so bad, change my mind.
Right.
So what I decided to do was, the first bad film that we were going to be talking about was going to be Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. A, because I don't think it's all that bad, and I'll give you some arguments why. And B, because it's its 10th anniversary this May, which should make everybody feel old as motherfucking shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what I decided to do was I would put up a poll on Twitter and see what everybody's response was. There was only 3 options. What I wanted people to do was to tell me it was so bad it made me cry, or it had some good moments. I'm not asking anybody to say it's good or great, because I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying it's not as bad as y'all think. And then the other option was other, for people to write in. And a few people did write in, Jay. So Work Life in Balance podcast said, A, I didn't enjoy it personally, and B, you can fucking not do this with the 10-year anniversary thing. I had no clue it had been that long, and I feel old as shit. I thought it had only been 5 years. The man was 66 when he filmed this movie. He will be 78 by the time that the 5th film comes out. Just to put it in perspective for everybody. How much time will have passed between 4 and 5.
Are you surprised? But at that age, he wants to do this movie and not something else, or something else under his. I know he's doing West Side Story. He's doing West Side Story first before this movie. It's I guess some one of those.
I thought you were talking about Harry Ford not wanting to do this like so soon.
Well,
Harrison Ford has
both really.
Harrison Ford has always loved this character. This has always been the character
I know,
he loved the most.
He kind of has joked or said that he wants to kind of.
He said he'll
sort of wrap up the storylines for each of his beloved characters. Back in the day. And I respect that. I do get that. And I mean, it makes sense. Put it that way. If you have the power, which he does, to do that, why not?
Right, because he could put a hex in the whole thing and go, yeah, I'm not doing it.
Sure.
Don't let me get my way, and I'm just not doing it, because I'm Harry fucking Ford, and I'll crash this motherfucking plane.
Look, it worked great with Blade Runner 2049, right?
It did.
So, you know, kudos to him. Go for it. And also Star Wars. So go. I mean,
he seems to be going out on top when he wants to. Yeah. So, What Were They Thinking podcast said, I liked it a lot. This is kind of blowing up in my face a little bit, Jay. And then Pete from our friend Pete over at Podstalgic said, glad you're doing this one. We're going to be doing the trilogy for our 4th anniversary episode. So,
wow.
There's going to be a whole lot of indie going around because it's May and it is the anniversary of all the films. Like I told Jay earlier that it has been 10 years since Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, 29 years since Last Crusade, 34 years since Temple of Doom, and 37 years since Raiders of the Lost Ark. And then, of course, I put the meme up on Instagram as well, on the Podfix Instagram, and we got one response there from Epic Film Guys Justin, who said, you know, Indiana Jones wasn't that bad, changed my mind. He said, no, you're right, it wasn't. So the poll results came out as such. 39% said it was so bad it made me want to cry. 58% said it had some good moments in it, and 3% said other. So the fact is, I wanted people to change my mind and tell me how bad it was, and everyone kind of agreed with me.
I guess enough time has gone by.
That's what I'm thinking.
Don't you think?
I'm thinking like that wound has scabbed over.
Well,
it's turned into a healthy scar now.
You know, we've seen this movie enough times.
You
And
know,
we
like,
also just recently rewatched the trailer before we recorded this, just for a little quick refresher of the scenes.
I mean, no, I've seen this film.
Sure, no, I know
At least 10 or 15 times.
I know the movie.
at
It's
this point.
it's still one of those things where I think the eye roll moments that had happened during the movie,
You're expecting them now, and you can just
you're
ignore them.
expecting them, and you kind of, sort of,
Right, you just put them in the back of your head. It happened. I'm moving on. I'm ready to see
either you enjoy them or you just kind of let it go, or it just brushes right off your shoulder. Not so much the Shia LaBeouf swinging sign,
Right, so-
stuff, but like, you know, that aside, there are a lot of other moments that are still fun to watch.
So let's address the bad first off.
Okay, yes,
Kate Blanchett and her accent.
yeah, my girl is oh boy,
It's very Rocky and Bullwinkle. It's very Boris and Natasha. You know, like, we must kill that moose and raccoon, flying raccoon squirrel guy.
Yes, it's definitely one of those things where she did not take any notes from anybody during this role.
Shia LaBeouf and
I like Shia in this role.
to this,
I will stand behind that.
I will say Shia LaBeouf, even though he is an actor of ill repute now, people don't really like to see him in main production things.
I am a Shia LaBeouf supporter.
For me, he looked like he could be Harrison Ford's son. Like, when you look at him in the face, you could be, he looks like Harry Ford a little bit. But also, throughout the film, like, yeah, I did find him grating. I did find him annoying. And I don't think any of that came from him. I think all of that came
George
from the
Lucas
script.
had a big hand in telling him how to act, or not so much act, but like how to present himself in that era, because he used to be a quote unquote kind of greaser type.
I want you to be like, I want you to be like,
He
young
had the
Indiana
comb in the
Jones.
back of his pocket, blah blah blah. You know, always coiffing his hair.
I want you to be as annoying as possible, like young Indiana Jones would have been. But it also does. It also has some other things that are quite annoying to people. The monkeys swinging, the CGI prairie dogs,
The ants, Dave. The ants.
which I've always
God
said it
damn.
bothers me. They're Siafu ants, which are ants from Africa, and they're in South America. So first off, there's a complete lack of geography and knowledge of the type of ants that exist there. But secondly, no, they don't. They will pick flesh clean off the bone. It'll take them hours to do it. But again, this is a Steven Spielberg action flick. You don't look for logic in a lot of things.
But written by David Koepp.
So what? It's still directed.
He can do some trash,
It's right,
but he can also do some good stuff.
But it's directed by Steven Spielberg. He said this is a popcorn flick by Steven Spielberg. He's not looking for that type of logic. He's just looking for you to have fun with it.
But this is indie after so long. Like, I feel like that's what everybody was banking on, was something also of quality.
And this
more
is,
quality, at
well,
least.
We've talked about the dangers of allowing people like the creators of something that you love aging and then going back to something because they're not in the frame of mind that they were in when they made it. They're not the same person they were then. People do change. People do change with age. We've seen what happens with Ridley Scott when he's gone back to the Alien, universe twice
definitely.
now.
Yeah.
And I think we're better off having someone else who grew up a fan of Blade Runner, Denis Villeneuve, directing that film because Ridley Scott
big time.
didn't touch it.
Big time.
So would Indiana Jones may have been better, this fourth one, if someone else directed it with Steven Spielberg producing? Possibly. But for better or worse, this is the film that we wound up getting.
Yeah.
And a lot of the story elements that people have problems with, they actually fit. Like, a lot of the stuff fits. So, like,
the little stuff doesn't so much, but overall as a big story, yeah.
Indiana Jones is still Indiana Jones, right? I love that from the first moment that we see him. He is still Indiana Jones. Yeah. He's older. It's 19.
Of course.
It's 1957 now.
Sure.
Right? Like, he has aged. But even though he's aged, he's still Indiana Jones. He's still cracking a whip. He's still punching villains. And he's still Harrison Ford, personally, is still doing his own stunts, despite the fact that producers of the film begged him not to do it. At 66 years old, he was still swinging from a rope, crashing through fake scenery, throwing the punches, taking the hits, taking the bumps, taking the falls. He was still doing it all at 66 years old while doing it. So give him respect for that. And for everyone who says,
I give him respect, but also it kind of took away from the film.
Why? Because would it have been believable if Indiana Jones 4 took place in, let's say, 1957, and he
Dave,
was
I'm
played by a younger guy?
I'm extremely nitpicking here, but there was like just some sliver
So
of
that's
moments
my problem, is
of
that,
like heavy editing.
Is that because people
slow-mo.
saw this movie and didn't enjoy it as much as they thought they would? They wound up going back and watching it and nitpicking so much out of it. When in reality, there's really only 3 or 4 things that kind of really take this film down a peg. And it's the Shia LaBeouf swinging on the vines, the Siafu ants scene, and a few moments of dialogue here or there that are really
I think also the alien scene in the end.
Yeah. Oh, and the ending. I mean,
is also a big crutch, which people actually literally probably removed from their brains, to be honest.
Would you have liked it more if it was E.T.'s, if the skull looked like E.T.'s skull and it would turn out to be E.T.'s people at the end?
100%. I would have loved for it to be something like that, because it would make more sense.
It wouldn't.
And it would, kind of.
So
it would.
So because it wasn't everybody's Indiana Jones that they expected, right? But I mean, you got to remember that Temple of Doom was not what everybody expected either, right? Which is why Last Crusade winds up being, Indiana Jones fighting more Nazis, because everybody wanted that after Temple of Doom really didn't do as well critically as Raiders did. And Last Crusade did it. It brought it back, but they didn't want to rehash that again. I mean, yeah, they made the villains, they turned the Nazis into Russians because that's who America was fighting at the time. And, but they still brought the essence of the character through. I still felt like I was watching Indiana Jones. And for better or worse, I was still watching Marion Ravenwood. I was still watching their kid. Now, there are moments of dialogue that are cringe-inducing. Yeah, they're there. They're there. And it's awful. You can't take those away. You can't take away the bad scenes. But what's good in there winds up making it a watchable film and winds up making it somewhat enjoyable too.
Yeah, I mean, it's something. I own this movie. I mean, it's one of those movies that it has moments. It certainly does 100%. I think the film you mentioned earlier before in pre-production that they actually used film to try to make it look like that era.
So here's the thing. The cinematographer for the film, it escapes my mind. It's not the same cinematographer that had done the original 3 indie films, but Steven Spielberg gave the cinematographer 8 weeks to watch through the Indiana Jones original films. He gave them the original prints and gave them the original notes from the cinematographer who did it first, and wanted him to really take what that cinematographer did, apply it to this film, but apply it to using film that is 20 years newer. And that's why, Jay, like you were saying, like it just has this sheen over it, just has this shine that is over it that is reminiscent of Spielberg post Jurassic Park.
This is a frequent cinematographer of Spielberg. His name is Janusz Kaminski. And he's done stuff like Schindler's List, Minority Report, Saving Private Ryan, War Horse, among others.
But what's crazy about it is if they use the same film and if they use the same film they did for Saving Private Ryan, it might have looked grainy and a little bit old, and it might have fit in a little bit better. But they didn't use digital. They still filmed on film for this movie.
There's something about this movie.
It's the lighting.
It is the lighting. It's got to be the lighting, because it bothers me, and that's part of the thing that always did bother me throughout the movie, and still does, is that it just doesn't feel or fit right into what it wants to be, and it just doesn't work right, and it just seems just so
literally
kind of cringe-inducing.
Literally, as we're talking, WDIM podcast on Twitter that's said, I dug it for what it was. They're intended to be schlocky B movies with a budget. When and why did people start taking them so seriously? Granted, the Tarzan scene, which is exactly what we're saying, you know? I mean,
Yeah, but do you think they were trying for that?
yeah, Jay, because it's based on the type of 1930s serial that Star Wars would have been based off of, kind of like Buck Rogers, where it's like, you know, the hero always wins, but he always gets into trouble, and there's always a cliffhanger. Stay tuned next episode to see how our hero gets out.
I guess so. And for that time period and everything like that in 57 and okay.
And even in the 30s when the original ones were. So he is the hero.
So the question is, do you think this era wants Indiana Jones?
Yeah, this era right now, our era, or do you mean like 1957? Like
No.
Because 1957 didn't want him.
Kingdom of Crystal Skull came out.
I
as
don't,
a whole, as a picture.
Because again,
should they have made this movie, Dave?
We're getting into the same problem that people are getting into with the people who didn't like, The Last Jedi, who didn't like, the changes that they were making for the universe changing things that were going on. These are adults now who grew up with this, watching it now as adults without the memory of nostalgia for this film.
But you also have to put in perspective the kids.
Exactly. So, no.
It's a tricky balance.
No. Should they have just left it alone? Probably. Should they continue to leave it alone? Yeah. Am I excited to see Harrison Ford come back for Indiana Jones 5? Yeah, I am.
I mean, how can you not?
So I mean, there's a balance, and it's an incredibly tough balance, and I don't blame anybody for not hitting the mark on it, because you can't relive nostalgia. You can't. It just doesn't happen. You have to make all new nostalgia, and it's impossible to do with a character like this. You can't rehash things too much, because people will call you a hack for redoing things over again. But then if you make it too different and too new, people call you a hack for that. So a lot of people were really upset at the whole alien thing, at him jumping into a refrigerator and surviving like a nuclear blast.
Right.
But for me, all that stuff makes sense, because you're in the 50s. You're fighting Russians. And when you look at what was going on in the 1930s, it was nationalism. It was fighting Nazis.
Yep.
That's exactly what Indiana Jones was taking on then.
And those kind of areas were probably there.
But when you get into the 50s, it was all sci-fi, the new age, the atomic age. And you literally get a scene where Indiana Jones is birthed of a nuclear blast and exits that refrigerator and walks up, and you actually get what I think is a beautiful shot of him
a beautiful
walking
shot.
And the mushroom clouds in front of him, and it is Indiana Jones being birthed into the atomic age. Like he's in a sci-fi story, because that's the type of stories that were being told at this time. So it makes sense. It actually makes a little bit of sense. Now, there's a few times in the film where they do drop some things where he was an OSS officer behind enemy lines as a spy. That sounds like a more interesting Indiana Jones sequel. It does. He talks about being in Morocco and gambling with Smithy,
I want
or whatever
that
his name
Indy.
was. Right. And
Give me that guy.
And he talks about like getting in a fight in Morocco over some trinket or something like
Sure.
that sounds more fun than this film.
Definitely.
But for better or worse, this film takes place in the 1950s, because that's the age that Indiana Jones would have been when you age him naturally with how Harrison Ford aged.
Yeah,
and what they
of course.
did is the best they could do with what they had. Could they have had a better script? 100%. Do Spielberg and Lucas look at a script and do they know what's good or bad anymore? No, I don't think they do.
Yeah. I think they just trust their buddies that they've worked with a long time.
Exactly.
And they just kind of go with it, and they think it's okay.
Are they probably a little bit out of touch with the audience? Yeah. Will Indiana Jones 5 have any influence from George Lucas at all? Zero.
True.
Or at least very little.
I'm just curious to see what path they take.
I'm curious too. But what I'm saying is this film winds up not being that bad. Even though we look at it...
I'm curious to see if Spielberg wants to have a little bit of balls with it. Like, as far as, like, does he want to make it just another popcorn flick like Kingdom of Crystal Skull? Or does he want
Spielberg have balls anymore is what you're asking. And the answer is probably not as much as you think he does.
Probably not. But I'd like to see him try, especially after the response after this film. Because this film took a lot of heat.
So,
I mean, it really did lampoon him hard, more than he ever has in probably his whole career.
So are there things to enjoy there? Yeah, I think there are. Can Spielberg bring it back again? Maybe. It's another wait and see type of situation. But one thing's for sure. It is the worst Indiana Jones film, but it's still watchable and there are still things to enjoy in it.
Yes.
And in the end is like sex. Even bad sex is still pretty all right. It still can be enjoyable. It's not great, but you got off and it's there. And, Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones in this role the whole time. And that's the thing that you can watch this and still take away from it.
That's a mic drop moment right there, Dave.
So that's going to do it for Super Movie Brothers tonight. Make sure that you are following us on Twitter at Super Movie Pod so you can join us for our polls and give us some feedback on there. We're always asking questions and putting up stuff that you can comment on, and we will be reading on the air. Make sure that you head over to the Untapped app and Facebook, which Jay runs.
Yes, definitely check that out. Look at what we are drinking and reviewing, and also, just our feedback in general on Twitter or Facebook, and check us out on hit up Blowfish, SMB Fish.
Yeah, make sure you go over to
use that code.
forhangovers.com and use the code SMBFish to get yourself 15% off. Also, make sure you're checking out the other Podfix Network shows. We're part of a network, and we're very, very proud to be part of that network. And we like to get involved with everybody in our network. And make sure that you go over to epicfilmguys.com and check out the live stream for the Cure page so that you can listen in, be a part, and donate to live stream for the Cure. It's going to be coming up here in 2 weeks, and I'm very proud to be part of it and just appearing on Nick's live stream just to help out in any way that I can. So I want to thank everybody for listening tonight. Have a great night and cheers.
Cheers.